Hi everyone, Callie here. In this video, I am going to review the building of the Cozier Home, which is a Brick Artisan Rebrickable model, which uses two of the Cozy House sets. I've got one of them here, just so you can get an idea of what the original set looked like. The set itself contains 808 pieces, so two of them is going to be 1,616 pieces. This model here uses 1,511 of them, so you're going to have a few parts left over, and during the review I will show you what is left, because I always think that's important when you're building a rebrickable as well. Now this set was one of the favorites of mine from last summer. I was so excited about it. I really liked how it hinged open and you still managed to get a really great facade, or you could have a closed back if that was more of your thing. I never actually built the alternatives. I was considering putting this like on the lakefront in my underwater area, but I haven't got an underwater area, and I don't have anywhere really to put that. If you look at the back of the box, and I'm sort of bringing this up because a lot of this particular Rebrickable keeps a lot of the authentic things that came from the original set, which sometimes I really like in a set, and sometimes I'm blown away to show a Rebrickable show completely different things. So things we've kept in the Rebrickable model is some of the exterior details. We've also got the same kitchen area. The original model has two bedrooms, well, it's one bedroom really when you close it, and then a little sort of living room area. There is no bathroom in this, and one of the things I really like about Brick Artisan models is there's always a bathroom inside. I do want to say that Brick Artisan did actually have two different models, and I have built the other one previously, and so this one is actually called the Classic Townhouse, and this one is the Cozier House. So you can see this one completely transforms what that original set looked like, whereas this one, oh, I broke the little thing there. Whereas this one is definitely more authentic to the original set. I do like this one though. I think it looks really great in the city compared to all the other modular buildings. Like, look at the part usage up here to create this sort of look. If you are looking for the instructions for these builds, I will put them in the description below. So as said, this is a modular building, and so if I'm careful, we should be able to take off the top and then, of course, the bottom as well. So we have three elements to this modular system. It is beautifully sort of tiled off at the top of this sort of first layer as well, and the second layer is also beautifully tiled off. The top, you can't get into the roof space very easily, but it does sort of pop off there. You have to pop it back in, and then we can start of see into the roof. We'll start here because it is the smallest and sort of least interesting of the three layers. And so in the roof we have all the little toys that are actually in that original Lego set. So they're all sort of stored up here, and it's just basically a nice storage area. It is a little tricky though to sort of get this on and off just because of the alignment, and then when you push it on, I have broken it a few times. Oh, I managed it pretty successfully there though, so I'm pretty proud of that. I do like how he used all of the slopes here to create this nice curve on the edge, and then little touches like using those tooth pieces to create the top of the drain pipe. The chimney itself is pretty nicely put together. It does sort of pop off like that if you need to, which is kind of important when you're actually building it, but after that it's sort of there on its own. It's a nice little unit, and it can go back there. There we are. But it's got some nice texture to it, using the different railings. Obviously the masonry bricks always help, and then this nice design at the top here with the double bar between it. And then at the other side is pretty much the same design. We've got the green brick at the very top, and then using all the small white bricks to create that roof look. So that's your roof with the scary snail. So here is the second floor of the building. We're just going to take a close look at the interior and all the things that it contains. First off, we do have these stairs that go up to the roof that we just looked at. You can sort of flip them up if you want, which is a little kind of nice thing, mostly because when we look at the back window, if you don't flip them up, they take up the whole thing. And even when you do, I still feel like it's aesthetically not the most pleasant thing in the world. Inside, we have a double bed and a twin bed, or a single, depending on where you reside in the world. And then in the middle, we've got this kind of garish carpet, which is green and orange. And then I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be a cat scratcher, which makes sense because we got the cat at the front. We also have a, like, what do you call it? The thing, vinyl. I'm pretty sure that's vinyl. there. And then in the corner here, we also have the extension of the fireplace, and then some letters and one of the print pieces. There's a lot of print pieces in this set, and that sort of really adds to the value too. You can see you've got one above the bed there. We've got one there between the windows. And that's actually it for this side. I keep knocking off the good old drain pipe there. It's just stuck together with one stud, so be careful with that, but that's fine. I also knocked off this light somehow, which is held together here with a clip. So let me put my model back together. So looking back at the interior, each of the two beds has a little bedside light, which is a pretty neat little thing. It kind of reminds me of like the Pixar light or something. It's pretty neat little design. And then we've got what looks like a little crate, which could be for toys, or, you know, maybe that's the place where you store clothes, because there's no, you know, obviously it's a townhouse and it's Lego. There's no wardrobes or anything like that in here. There's just not space. And then there's like a little pony wall here to protect you from the stairs, which also has a neat little bit of storage in there too. So there's kind of a nice sort of layout up here. There's a good bit of space, so you can actually, if you're a minifigure, you can get around a little bit. Obviously, it's not great because there's only, you know, one bedroom, so the kid is sleeping with the parents. It's not ideal if this was your real home, but, you know, it's Lego, and this is what we have. This is what we have for the space and the parts and everything that we can put together. So I think I really like this layout. At least they're separated, and there's like clearly a space, and you can even see, like, you know, and in reality, you could sort of separate that off or something if this was really your family home for the time being. So that is the second floor. And then so the ground floor, or the first floor, depending on where you come from, is actually really sort of interesting. I really like the details that are packed in here. First off, the most important thing that I really like in this is the fact that Brick Artisan always includes a bathroom. So in here we have a toilet, and then we have a shower, which, you know, it is a wet room. If you were taking a shower in there, you're definitely going to get everyone nice and wet. And of course, because the set doesn't contain a door that is fully locked, you're going to be able to see everyone when they're in the bathroom. But, you know, that's it's modern day living, I guess. And then in the interior, in the middle there, we have the soup bowls. I'm pretty confident that's going to be tomato soup. I don't know what else it could really be in the middle. And then we've got those little pop-up, like little stools, I guess, around the table that we had in the original set as well. So that's in the interior, in the middle of the interior. So you can, you know, absolutely see how the family would sit there to enjoy a meal. And then the stairs are really nicely done too. It's those modified tiles, you know, the ones that I call them double jumpers. I don't really know what they're supposed to be called, but they're just sort of sitting nicely up there. So you actually have a staircase which encloses the bathroom, which is pretty nice. Got another print piece there as well. Looking at to the front door, we have another print piece above the front door, and then over here in the corner we have a print piece and the fireplace, which is really nice. We got a couple of jumpers there too, so you can see the minifigure coming home, standing in front of the fireplace and warming up. On this far wall we have the kitchen. So the kitchen has a really nice kind of area where it's got like an extractor hood. It's then got the little stovetop there and an oven as well. And then we got a nice sink, even with a wash bottle. And over here we've got shelving that looks like it's a little pantry with lots of food and things like that for the family. So it's got sort of all the elements you really need to be able to live in this home. And I think it's nicely spaced out, considering it's actually pretty small in the interior. I think it's only, let me see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 studs are dedicated to the inside of the 32 studs of the length. So not a lot of the actual building, if you look at this, you know, not a lot of the actual space is dedicated to the building. There's just as much on either side. So the interior is, of course, going to be pretty cramped, but at the same time, there is at least feasible space for a minifigure to move and get around, and like the door opens all the way and things like that. That's a pretty nice touch, not always seen in Lego buildings. Now that we have taken a detailed look at the interior of the house, let's look at the exterior, which frankly is probably the most important aspect because this is what we're going to look at all the time in our city. So as I mentioned, what I really like about this model compared to the other model that you can make is that it looks like the original Cozy House set, which I have over here. it's sort of, you can kind of see how they are part of the same family, whereas this other house, the Classic Townhouse, is definitely an independent build. So one of the things that we have that's retained from the original set is basically the front sort of area. It has, you know, the cobblestones and the um, mailbox. Of course, we also have the cat, which is exactly the same as the cat that we have in the original set as well. And being a cat lover, as you know that I am, this is a very nice little feature for me. So instead of the sort of railed sort of stoop here area here being in the rear of the house on the original set, it's been moved to the front, which creates this beautiful porch-like area, which is basically something I would see around here as well. Another key feature that I really like is the fact that we've retained the sort of style of roof that we had in the original set too. I really like how the Lego are building sets with plate on top, and then we're adding these little tiles to create a nice texture. I believe Rivendell was the first set that was introduced in last year, and it looks fantastic on that set. So it's good to see it in some of these smaller sets and that sort of idea coming through as well. Also on the exterior, it's good to notice that we've got these upside down plants. I will zoom in a little bit and show you all of these layers in detail. But I really like just how the architecture and the symmetry is there between these windows and the front, and it sort of matches everything and kind of looks nice and linear. And that is obviously a good part of architecture. We have another massive snail at the top if I haven't pointed that out already. Round at the side of the house, it's sort of very sort of mishmash in a little way, but also you can see that there's also design to it. But you do have a few things that do pop out. This is like from the bathroom. This is a couple of tiles here that just obviously don't match, like what's going on here. This is your staircase, which is almost a beautiful design, except you're sort of missing something right there. And then I'm not really sure what is happening up there in terms of the sort of overall look of it. Nonetheless, you know, there is a good sort of effort there to use the pieces available to create sort of a nice masonry brick layer at the bottom of each floor, and then have a line of this color going through. Moving around to the back, there's actually a lot of features here that I really appreciate and think this makes the model look a lot better. Mostly is probably coming from that chimney, which is a nice sort of protruding kind of element that, you know, comes away from the wall and gives it just a little bit more dimension. It doesn't just make it a straight up square, which is pretty nice. Then at the back here, we've got the two chairs that were actually sort of the couch inside the original model. We've got a nice little coffee table sort of sitting out here, so you can see the minifigures doing that. And then, of course, another snail. Woohoo! We've also got a nice little recycling bin here that was from the original set, and then to sort of use these dragon head pieces that people use for railings as a sort of nice decor for the back garden. It's also got the nice garden trellis area coming across here to create some shade, and then up the wall too, to again just sort of create a little bit of texture. The inclusion of the two drain pipes on either side is a nice way to frame the building, and again just adds something, you know, from the original set, but brings a little bit of a special piece of design to it at the same time. And of course, birdhouses. You know, they were in the original set, and here they are, they're living again. On the other side is a little bit more of a mishmash of the bricks that we have to use to create those interiors. Again, these are elements you're just not going to see. This is a townhouse. This is going to be right up against another building. So I'm sort of not really worried about it. And then in a way, I can sort of see myself in the future removing these masonry bricks, swapping them out for something else, because these are probably more valuable to me to be an actual sort of in the profile. But regardless, I think great job still. We've got that nice sort of layer coming through. We've got some interesting colorings of bricks that maybe we would have in a slightly older building that had been sort of patched. But again, not really going to see it, but that's where all those white bricks went that are in the original set itself. And if just notice, actually, in the original set, we've even got a brick there that isn't pure white. So what are we going to do, right? So back to the front, and I think that's a great sort of 360 of this model, just to sort of see how it would look no matter where it was on your city. So taking a closer look at the ground floor itself, we can see you've got, again, the bit more of that cobbling here and a few of those sort of little cherry plants in there. We've got the two seats that were actually at the back, but been sat there at the front in the stoop. And I really like these inverted sort of pot plant things that Brick Artisan also did in the other townhouse as well. The only thing if I have to criticize is, I guess I'm not a fan of this open stud thing. I think that's just a taste thing, but I mean, compared to the parts that you had available to you, I don't think you can really complain about that at all. I think it still looks really good, even though it's not necessarily my favorite piece of design. Really nice way we've used the parts to create these lights on either side as well. It's beautifully symmetrical, and you know, it does look like how you'd expect someone's home to look. Here you've got windows on either side. That one looks over the fireplace, and that one looks over the kitchen area, I think. Might have that my geography, internal geography backwards, but you get the idea. At the back, you can just see a closer look of all the details that we saw before, and I think really there isn't much to point out that I didn't already sort of mention, but it's just nice to get a close look, like things like there's the gold bar up there, just adding a nice little extra feature that we maybe didn't notice before. We've also got the nice little tooth areas here at the bottom of the drain pipes, which just, you know, adds a little texture, and I sort of appreciate it, that kind of design thought as well. Second floor is where your eye is absolutely drawn to because of the way that this sort of feathered look here takes you into that window and makes it even bigger. That is important because they are big black windows, like black window frames, so there's not actually a lot of light getting in there, so making them look a little bit bigger and more expansive is probably important. Now, I'm not an architecture kind of person, but I think I need to start becoming one to really understand the beauty of Lego, because when we look here, you know, we've got these beautiful pieces here with the texture at the bottom, then we've got the barrel here, and then we've got studs up here, and then we've got this beautiful texture going on up here, and then a little part in the middle, and there's a lot going on, but yet it doesn't really look like there's too much of design happening, which is probably a good thing, right? You're not looking at it going, wow, look at the way that is done. You're just like, yeah, that's a really nice window and sort of looks like a normal townhouse would. So I'm actually going to give a lot of credit for that because it's sort of fantastic in a sort of understated kind of way. Definitely draws your eye, and I think it's sort of a nice sort of look for a family home. It doesn't look like the sort of windows and framing that you would see on a sort of doctor's building or something like that. It's definitely got a homey feel, and that's a really nice feature from my perspective anyway. The back of the house, the second layer, is not that impressive. The best things about it is really the fact that the chimney does stick out a little bit. We have these nice sort of textures going on here with the bird houses, and we got some got a leaf element here. We got two massive windows, which, I mean, there was no other option. There's nothing else in the set. And then we've got the railed plate above it to kind of give it a little bit of texture. We do have the masonry bricks underneath, but then we got two different colors of plate, which doesn't really help the overall aesthetic of what is happening here. I do like the fact that we have the bricks and then the colorful studs in the middle just to sort of break it up to add a little bit of design there, though. Of course, when you have massive windows like this, it's not really likely that that is what someone's going to have in their townhome, but it does help sort of see inside, which is, you know, from our Lego sort of just looking at my town sort of city aspect, that's kind of nice. You can actually see inside. Of course, that sort of whole look is ruined by that staircase that is inside there. So that is kind of a bit of an issue. For me, one of the important features of building these MOCs is the parts you're left with at the end. As I said, there's 1,616 pieces in the two sets combined, and then there's 1,511 pieces used in the actual set. So these are the pieces you're going to be left with. Now, I have a sneaky suspicion I might have added this to it because I couldn't find it in it, and I went and got one from my part inventory and put it back in here, but I could be wrong about that. It's been a couple of weeks since I built this. But the parts in here are pretty good. You know, you got a door on a door frame. You got a couple of nice plates here. Obviously, quite a few of these parts are the minifigures. You got 6 minifigures in here. We got a little toilet, which is always wonderful. You got bowls and spoons. So you got, you know, pretty nice pieces for putting other MOCs together. We even got some tile pieces left over, which never go wrong, no matter what you're building or who you are in the Lego world. You got even a wand here. You got some nice sticks left over. So there's plenty of good pieces in here. You know, a lot of MOCs use all the great pieces or the most versatile pieces in a set, and then you're left with some Technic pieces that you would probably never use. But here you can see for yourself, you know, you got a nice double raised slope here. Good pieces to go forth and use in other sets. Like these I'm definitely going to put in my winter village. So, you know, all those things, you got nice pieces like that to make another post box. Nice elements that you're left with, and I think that's always an encouraging factor when you're considering building a MOC. You don't want to be left with a bunch of pieces that you're just never going to use, because then you don't feel like you got great value for your money. But in this case, you did. And that's one of the reasons why I absolutely love the Cozy House. It's just great pieces. So even if you don't want to build one of these, definitely try and pick one of these up on sale / clearance, because it's a great parts pack if you like to create your own buildings. So here are both the Brick Artisan's Rebrickables that use 2 Cozy House sets each. So if you wanted to build both of these, you need to buy 4 in total. I have to say that if I was only building one of these, I would probably pick the Classic Townhouse. And the pure reason for that is I think it fits better with the aesthetic of the modular buildings that we have from the official line. It's got things like intricate design on the front here, especially this area around the door that's just absolutely outstanding part usage. And then sort of the elegance of the front of the house with the design at the top, even like the little spirits at the top here too. But it also has this sort of recessed wall, which is very in keeping with things like the jazz club that we've seen recently. However, they're very, very different. And I think that really attests to the quality of the design that you will get from Brick Artisan. This house here is definitely something that I would expect closer to a rural area. So it has a completely different vibe and feel to this house, yet it came from the same parts. And that's one of the things that I just absolutely love about Lego, is if you gave these parts to one person, it might come up with something like this. You give it to another person, it'll come up with something like this. Or you give it to the same person and they've got 2 completely different ideas. Like even when you look at the side of this house, this one here, this is a bookcase inside, and this is like a mural artwork of like a sunset onto a beach. Totally amazing. Over here, it's a normal wall. Pretty cool. When you look at the back of these houses, you have completely different vibes too. I would say the back of the Cozier house is actually more aesthetically pleasing. It's more balanced because you've got the windows and then the chimney at the side. Whereas here, we have this big white patch. And then what is going on with this roof? I'm not really sure what's happening there. Is it sort of like a outdoor water thing maybe happening, whereas this one is a more defined roof area? I'd also say though that maybe this back is a little bit more impressive because we've got like an awning, whereas here it's just sort of, yeah, a little bit of leaves or whatever to give a little bit of shade. So there's the elements there. I also think that in the Cozier house, these 2 lounge chairs at the back are a little bit excessive. They're not something you're going to really see in sort of a more downtown area housing. This is definitely more something when you have space to sort of spread out. And I can see this being somewhere near maybe the late, kind of akin to sort of one of the models that we sort of saw in the official set. That being said, I kind of love them both. I love them both, and I think they both have a lot of pros and cons each, and they are very, very different. And sort of that is a nice sort of element as well. I don't think they go great together. I think it's a little noisy, it's a little busy, it's maybe too much blue. And I think that in the city, they're going to have to be split up. I don't think there's any other way to do it, and I think that actually helps them stand out individually. When you put them together, you kind of lose the details to all of that color, and there's so much going on that you can't really kind of see it for the, it's like one of those forests, you can't see the forest for the trees kind of thing. So I think this one is probably going to go in my city somewhere closer to the museums and things like that. And this one will go sort of near where all the trees and things are. I think that is what we're going to do. I do have another Cozy House set, as you saw at the beginning. I have another one that I haven't allocated to anything yet. It's one of those sets that I just get because the parts are so great. Like, you know, there's white bricks, there's masonry bricks, the minifigures are great, there's fantastic sort of leaf work, and when you can pick it up 20% off, definitely worth it. And speaking of price, and I did just knock the snail off, and I don't actually remember which set this goes with. The snail up here, maybe? I'll put it up there. This set, the Cozy House set, is generally 20% off right now at most big box retailers. And the price for the instructions, I think it was $8 or maybe it was €8. I don't remember. Can't remember which currency it is. But say like about $10. So you can build either one of these for $100. And in this current Lego economy, you got to admit that is pretty sweet. So definitely sort of worth it. I think that your value for money here is fantastic. The instructions are some of the best that I've seen on Rebrickable. They're very easy to follow. especially I built this one a while ago, so I don't exactly remember all the like intricate details, but I remember in this one they even highlighted which color of piece to use, so there was no like confusion, because sometimes, you know, when it's like these three colors at the bottom, you can easily get confused about what you're trying to actually put together there. So Brick Artisan does a great job of laying out the instructions. It's a nice, good pace. Nothing's too confusing. You're never sitting there going, is it this piece? Is it that piece? How does that go together? At least that was my experience. And I would say, therefore, it's one of the better ways of sort of entering into the MOC world. It's a scary world it can be at times, because, you know, it's not official Lego instructions, but definitely Brick Artisan's instructions always made me feel very secure in what I was building. And the buildings themselves are solid. Like, the only thing that is a little fridgy on this is this roof up here, because every time I take it off and I try to do something, there's a plate back there that tends to fall apart. And that's probably, you know, I've just got maybe heavier hands than some, or maybe, you know, it's just part usage, just not quite as reinforced as it would like to be. I'm sure if I add a couple of bits of plate in there, it will secure itself quite nicely. But it'd be nice if this could have actually like popped off and on pretty easily, so you can get into that roof capacity. But I tend to find when I put it back on, as I say, I break it. So I'm probably never going to go into that roof area. That may be something I might modify with my last box of Cozy House stuff. I could put sort of something else on the roof here. But I think what's most likely to happen is I might add another layer onto the top of this house. Now I'm frightened that if I copy this and make another module of that, it won't look good. You know, there's balance there, and I don't know what I could do here. So what I might do, if I'm scared to do that, is either of these I could extend out the actual building and cut down some of the backyard area, and maybe even then move the buildings back a bit on the mills plate, so that I could put the roads, the pavements in there without really losing what's coming from the building. I think in this one I'm probably going to switch out these chairs. I don't think they really go with the outdoor sort of look. But I get it, right? You've got part constraints. You only can use what is in the set. It's not like the most, you can't make the most perfect thing out of it. So there we go. Well, I hope you enjoyed my little mini review of this. I had a lot of fun putting this together, and it was a great experience building these MOCs. I think that they're some of the best MOCs available, because they're very cheap entry point. These sets are phenomenal sets, frankly, and it's something I think everyone can sort of take something from these MOCs, and you could sort of modify it a little bit for your own personal use, change out some parts if you have them in your inventory, or just be totally happy with the way these are, because they're going to look great in your Lego city.
Toodles would like to remind you that if you enjoyed this video, you should hit the like button to let her mommy know. And of course, remember to subscribe.
Oh no. Well, that didn't end well, did it? Well, that's Grayson, and that's Toodles, and, well, we might have a Thunderdorm situation happening here, so I'm just going to wrap this up and say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.